Today's video we're going to do what I call the better belly video, and that's for Ping to do her belly trick. The last video with that got a little bit cut off, so we're going to try it again. Ping, Ping, come here, baby, come here, come on. All right, this is Ping Pong. She's a very important part of HumbleBumble Chess. She helps us with our videos. She's going to do her belly trick. Ping, belly. Let me see that belly. Come on. Yes, let me see the belly. 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 As you can see, she shows her belly, and then she gets a treat. So now we give her treat, and she did a good job. So if you like it, leave a like or a comment here for her. And now we're going to do the chess video. So camera person. All right, watch out. Okay. So, hi everybody, HumbleBumble Chess video, HumbleBumble Chess Services here. It is Monday, what is it, Monday
24th?
25th?
Yeah.
Monday the 25th, May 2020. So, this is a game of mine here in the Queen's Knight attack. And this is from way back in 2003, the Southern Colorado Open. And it starts, of course, with knight c3, c5. It's good there? Okay. c5, d4, cd, queen takes d4. So this would be what they would call an anti-Sicilian line. So in other words, it's got the basic outlines of the Sicilian, but all messed up so that hopefully one of the advantages to playing a so-called anti-Sicilian line is that you take black out of his Sicilian theory, and he or she has to think on their own. So knight c6, queen h4. So yeah, so I think really honestly the early deployment on the queen is probably more of a minus than it is a plus. The plus is that the queen will a lot of times get deployed to h4. It's relatively safe. It's not easy to attack her. And again, it puts the game into completely different channels than black is normally used to with the Sicilian. But I'm used to it because it's my territory and I've studied it. So knight f6 is a typical response. Knight f3, e6, a3. So what we have is a non-standard line where white is got the queen out there, and is this queen a strength or a liability? That's the whole game is going to turn on that. So bishop to e7, and now white has to think, what am I going to do with this queen? Are there useful discovered attacks against her? Is she going to get trapped? So white has to really be careful here. So bishop to g5, and now in order to keep the queen from getting in too much trouble, it's best probably to not play e4 because sometimes she needs to scoot out of the danger area along the fourth rank, and so you want to keep that free for her if you can. Also, it may be a thing where you're going to need to exchange the bishop for the knight again to help the queen out. So a6. Okay, time for a little bit of background on the game. I apologize here. Again, this is from 2003, Southern Colorado Open. My opponent is Eric, and I'll just use his last initial, B as in Bravo. His rating at that time was 2042, so an expert. And this is the game here. So, and now e3, again, I'm keeping that fourth rank open for the queen's use. And then b5. So I think you're getting a lot of the Sicilian, the advantages of the Sicilian. There's a good expansion for black on the queen side. Solid center. He has two center pawns to my one. He's getting his pieces developed. So things are looking good for black right now. Rook to d1. And bishop to b7. Bishop to d3. b4. Might be a little bit premature here with that. Probably black had some better options to play d6. Castles, and at the right moment h6. You got to be careful about a sacrifice here, but I think this is a little premature for the reasons that white is ahead in development, and when you start complications, usually the person who's better developed, it's going to favor that person. So it's clear to me the motive for this is basically once I exchange, the knight is going to be harassing this bishop here, but that's not a problem because this bishop and this knight are approximately equal value, and the replacement piece is either going to be a pawn or a rook here on this file, and this file can give black trouble, as you'll see in the game here. So takes, and I'm not worried about the bishop. Again, like I said, either the pawn or the rook will come there, and I'll have good value for this bishop. Yes, he will have the two bishops, but I think my lead in development is at least as powerful as the advantage of the two bishops. Castles, knight takes, and rook takes. Okay, so I think black can look to, he has accomplished a lot here. He's pretty well developed. I've got a weak pawn here on the b file, and my queen is still often maybe a potentially vulnerable spot here. So let's see here. And now rook to b8. I think somewhere along the line here, we got to go back to our beginner training. So everybody, when they were a beginner and an experienced player or a book taught you about it, they said, don't leave your king in the center for too long. And we quickly, as we progress up the ranks in chess, we quickly learn that that rule has exceptions. And if there's something cool to do in the position, something useful, then castling can just be kind of like a knee-jerk move that really doesn't have any point behind it. But again, at some point, you've got to watch out for the king being in the center. It's just too dangerous. There are too many tactics that can come about like a flash, so you got to watch on that. So I think black is really pushing the limits of what he can do in terms of leaving his king in the center. So e4 and h6, and of course I don't have to, there's a pin here, so I don't have to move the bishop just yet. And let's see here, so doubling up on the file, queen here, and again, you might want a castle somewhere around in here. Now it's getting to the point where I need to realize that my queen is in a little bit of a vulnerable spot. So there were two attacks here on the bishop. Yeah, time to start getting away from the line of his bishop here. So rook to c8, and yeah, so I think that's just a flat-out blunder. The pawn here is just lost now after I take the bishop. I think Eric was counting on the fact that my rook will be trapped here, but as you can see, it's his king that's actually the focus here. So bishop takes, and rook takes d7. And now I think this is the move that Eric thought would bail him out. Where does the rook go? So if the rook retreats, then he can castle and all is well. So yeah, this is the natural move. I'm not worried about that rook there. He can't take it. So now I think the game ends quickly because, we see the drawback of the king being left in the center. Queen to b6. Now knight to d5. They're probably more precise winning moves here, but I like this move. It's just so in your face and so violent. I just love it here. So he takes. I take back. And it's funny how the rook never has to really worry about being taken because there's a checkmate there. And he goes back to a5, and I simply take the bishop. And all my advantages are still there. His king is still in the center. Yeah, it's just looking bad for him. So he resigned at this point. That's the end of the game, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for tuning in.